You're listening to the On the Bounce podcast, the show that is the ultimate source for all MLS fantasy news, tips, and everything else you need to dominate your leagues. Me, I'm JK, and I'm joined as always by my two hosts, Brady and Jarvis. Together, us three make up On the Bounce, and we're here to give you the best advice we can, along with some pretty great entertainment. Now, with all this out the way, let's jump right into today's episode. Oh yeah, that's what type of energy we're on today, boys. Episode 8, On the Bounce. We're back at it again. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you enjoyed some MLS soccer. There were some great games on this weekend. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into all of the fantasy action, all that good stuff. It's going to be a great episode. I'm here, as always, JK, your boy, and you know who I got with me. Josh Jarvis is back, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on today, bub?
I am back and ready for action right now. I'm raring to go.
Okay, he's raring to go, which is good because we're down a man again. We're switching it up though. Maybe on the Friday episode I'll be gone this time. I don't plan on it, but who knows? So we are missing Brady, Gravy the Gaffer, R.I.P. him. Send your prayers through Twitter. He's actually fine. He's coolin', but he cannot make this episode. So you got me and Jarvis today. We're going to lead you through everything. So on today's episode, if you guys are new around here, our Tuesday episodes are the ones where we give you the past week recap in the MLS and the MLS Fantasy. And then we bring to you our winners and losers segment of the week and the hidden gem segment, which is one of the fan favorites and one of our favorites. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the week 5 recap around the MLS. Not too much fantasy yet, but just go over the crazy week that was week 5. So Jarvis, what did you see in the MLS week 5?
I saw that I am petrified to play Sporting Kansas next week.
Yep.
Holy, they Braziled them, and I'm sick and scared.
Yeah, the goals were flying last week, or over the weekend. We had Sporting score 7. A couple people were 5, 4. Like the goals were raining.
Yeah,
so it was a fun
LAFC
week.
had 5.
Yeah, DC only had 2. You had teams like Seattle scored 0, like nothing. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a weird game. But there was a lot of crazy games, a ton of great goals. Wayne Rooney's almost Olympico, scoring from that free kick literally on the edge of the line.
I don't know if that was crazy or if Ibrahimovic would have scored that, scuffed question mark kick thing. I don't even know what that was.
I don't even know how he got it on target. How it hit the post was insane. And speaking of him, his first game back from an Achilles injury don't forget, he's almost 40. They put him back in the starting lineup. He comes in, scores a brace, could have got a hat trick on a couple tries, but I mean, what a way to come back. He's going to be someone that we're definitely going to be talking about on the Friday show, I'm sure, for starters of the week. Could be a captain's choice, all that stuff. But yeah, there was a ton of great goals. Carlos Vela's goal was insane. That curler, the new boy, Alejandro Pozuelo, a.k.a. Pozo, he came in on his MLS debut, scored 2 chips, 2 disrespectful chips, scored 1 from outside the box, and then his penalty, he chipped Sean Johnson. It was a disrespectful weekend.
Shouts out to Dom Dwyer for finally scoring on DC this year.
True, yeah, somebody finally did it, so yeah. It was a crazy week.
And also Atlanta.
I was just about to bring that up. Oh my god!
Still looks lost.
They finally. Me and Jarvis were out over the weekend. We went out to a bar to watch the FC Cincinnati game, and as we were there, I showed him the lineup that Atlanta put out against Columbus, and we were like, okay, like Frank de Boer's finally changing it up. We've been ragging on his 3-4-3 all year, and this week he came out with a 4-3-3, and they didn't score. They lost 2-0. Yeah, like, you can... It sucks because he has like a built-in defense now because they played in that terrible rainy Ohio weather. The Columbus Crew pitch was atrocious. There was puddles. The ball would either bounce or just completely stop. So you could definitely make excuses for it, but I mean, it's a terrible start for ATL. Currently, they are sitting dead last in the East with 2 points. 2 points for ATL. So, it has not been a good start for them. It's been weird. But yeah, that's about everything that I have for MLS worthy. You got anything else that you want to talk about MLS wise?
I don't think so. The Revs, I think, they picked up their first win of the season, right?
Yeah, they picked up their first win. A nice
good on them.
2-1 victory. Yeah, it was good on them for sure. I wish their fans were there more, but hopefully it'll start coming up.
Patriots country.
Apparently. Oh yeah, this is kind of off topic, but not really. But the next day after the Revs game, there was 12,000 people showed up in downtown Boston to watch Premier League soccer at 10 in the morning.
That's so ridiculous, dude.
Everyone on Twitter was like, okay, so like 12,000 people go show up to watch the Prem, but it says 10,000 show up to the games, but really it's probably more along like 5 to 6 show up to the Revs games. Like, come on, guys. I know they're struggling, but that would definitely help them out to like go support them and all. So if there's any Revs fans listening, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what's going on in your opinion. If you think, it's an owner problem, anything like that. But let's stick to fantasy. So that is the MLS Week 5 recap. Like we talked about, tons of crazy goals, tons of goal fests, all types of good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you had time to watch your favorite teams pick up some points, unlike us.
Exactly.
So let's jump right into the Fantasy Week 5 recap. So quickly, this is a little segment where we always go over the average points you could score last week, which was week 5, and the average points that you could have scored in fantasy was 69. A very nice 69 points was the average. I think that's what most people were hitting. Obviously, that's the average. I know Brady said he scored 63. Jarvis, what'd you have around that?
Yeah, somewhere in the 60s.
Yeah, and then luckily, I ended up scoring 91, but that was because of big boy Captain Carlos. He said, let me drop a quick 44 on you real quick. So hopefully you guys out there took my advice if you listened to our last Friday episode and captained Carlos Vela, even though, that's pretty much a weekly captain's pick. It's always safe bet. But that was the average, 69 points. The dream team of Week 5 was 188 points, and that was Zach Steffen in net, Beta Shore from LAFC on defense, Aro from Toronto, Godoy from the Whitecaps, Anababa, who I'm going to talk about later in the show, from the Revs, Pozo from Toronto we talked about, Russell from Sporting, another boy I'm going to talk about, Paxton Pomical from FC Dallas, Carlos Gil from the Revs, Captain Carlos up top, and Nemeth from Sporting up top. So there is your dream team of the week. All of them went off. A ton of points were scored this week, like we said. So hopefully you guys did well in fantasy. Let us know on Twitter, @OTBounce. Send us your teams. Send us what you did wrong, what you did right, all that good stuff. And if our advice helped or hurt you last episode, because you can blame it on Brady because he's not here.
Blame it on me because I wasn't there to give you the proper advice.
Right. True. Yeah, blame it on Josh Jarvis, who missed last episode, to not give you the right advice. So that was your fantasy recap. Hopefully you guys scored around the 60s. If you scored any more, you had a great week. So now we're going to jump right into the meat of the episode. That is the winners and losers of the week. This is a segment, pretty self-explanatory. Every Tuesday episode, we give you one or two winners or losers on the week, people that we think either did great or didn't do so great. So Jarvis, kick it off. Who's your first winner of the week?
My lad, Daniel Henry.
Your boy.
Had himself a game versus Seattle. If you watched that game, he looked so good. He stopped so many chances that Seattle had to score. Can't say enough about it. I think, what did he have? Let's see, 10 fantasy points, 1 for the clean sheet, 2 for the 90, a lot of cleared balls, a lot of blocks, a lot of passes. Everything I've been harping on, saying that he's great at all year. He's such a solid center back, and I love him. He is now up $1.8 million for me on the season, so I'm banking up, stanking up, scoring. Okay. You can't tell me nothing. Daniel Henry is a god.
Yeah, if you guys have been listening since episode 1 pretty much, Jarvis has been on the Daniel Henry train literally all season. And he's right about it. He's been balling. And yeah, like he said, that last game against the Sounders, at close to the death, it was like in the late 80s, he stopped a goal by himself by sliding in, and it was insane. So yeah, he
Yeah, real
definitely is a
talk.
winner of the week.
By far his best game of the year, and he really did look outstanding.
Yeah, against one of the best attacks in the league.
Exactly.
Yeah, so definitely a good week for him, and I'm glad you're banking up off of him.
You know it.
So my first winner of the week is a guy that we just talked about who's in the Dream Team, the young midfielder from FC Dallas, Paxton Pomykal. Now, the legend of Paxton keeps growing, and especially after this last week 5 performance where he scored 15 fantasy points. He's been a guy that's been talked about for a couple years now because he's, a young boy that's come through FC Dallas's youth. Right now he's only 18. He's been around the first team for the last year or two, and they really are loving him, and I'm glad. So since week 2, he's played a full 90 every single match and has been extremely solid in fantasy as he currently sits second overall in fantasy points for midfielders. He has 36 points on the season already, and I mean, he's so solid. I know the last week he's got 15, so that's almost half his points, but his other weeks he's had 6, 7, 5, 6, so he's just always going to give you a good floor of 6, 7 points, and he's got this potential like he just showed last week to nab a couple goals. He got a brace. He showed off his crazy eye for goal. One of them was outside the box, a great shot. But the thing that I love about him is what I just said. He's consistent. He plays very tactically. He's physical. He's strong. So he's just a great guy to have on your team. And I think we talked about him earlier in the season. I'm pretty sure we did on the second or third episode because he was so cheap in the hidden gem segment. And truthfully, if you need a solid starting midfielder, I would go get him ASAP because he's still only 7.7 mil. He's a consistent starter to play 90 minutes. He gets tackles, he gets passes. He just showed he scores goals. And I feel like a lot of people are glossing on FC Dallas, but they're one of the best teams in the league.
They really are.
It's insane. They're playing great. Their midfield is really what's winning it for them. This episode, pretty much most of my players I'm going to talk about are from Dallas, and that's because I feel like they're getting glossed over. And we've talked about them all season. Jarvis loves their back line. I'm loving the midfield. So it's just going to be something you're going to get used to. But that's because we love them. So Paxton Pomykal is my first winner of the week. I say you go snag him up if you need a midfielder. He's definitely going to go up in value at the least. But that is my first winner. Jarvis, who's your second winner of the week?
I'm carrying on with the FC Dallas train.
I love it.
Big Ryan Hollingshead. Mm-hmm. Who, again, I love Dallas's backline so much. Now, that being said, he only scored 5 fantasy points this week. Had an assist, but they did give up the 2 goals. He had a point for passing and the point for the 90. But one of the main reasons I wanted to pick him for my winner of the week was because, one, FC Dallas looks great, like we just said.
Yeah.
Their backline looks really good. They did give up 2 goals, but that seems to be sort of an enigma. I don't think that's going to be happening too often. Mm-hmm. And he still played well enough to go up another $500,000, even though he only had 5 fantasy points, which puts him up 2.3 mil on the year, which is insane, man. Insane. I mean, he's so consistent, like you were saying, with Paxton. They all seem to have very high floors.
Yeah.
Where they're going to be getting you 5, 6 a week. And especially with that back line in midfield, you always have that potential for the clean sheet because they're playing so well.
Yep.
But yeah, love Hollingshead this week. Love the way FC Dallas is playing, and I'm definitely peeping some of their boys, maybe flexing them in here and there, maybe picking up some of the, Ziegler. I'm never getting rid of Ziegler or Hollingshead. They will always be on my bench. Same with Donald Henry. Even if I don't want to play him one week, I'm holding on to him because even the week Hollingshead gets 5, he's going up 500,000.
Yeah, the value is just so insane to get rid of. I don't think you can unless you need that money elsewhere or a bye week or something, of course. But yeah, I'm right there with you with the FC Dallas boys.
Love it.
Yeah, they've been balling. So my next winner and my last winner of the week, guess what? Surprise! It's another FC Dallas boy.
I love it.
It's another midfielder, and like Jarvis was just saying, the midfield and the defenders for Dallas this season have really been their rock that's led them to 10 points already on the year. And just like he was saying, their floor is what's keeping them so well-rounded and so consistent in fantasy. These guys aren't scoring, like, they're not having bad weeks of like the 2 points, 1 points, like some other defenders and midfielders are getting. They're finishing, quote, bad weeks with 5 or 6, which, I mean, I'll take that every week, unless you're spending, of course, like 12, like premium dollars, but you're not. So my next winner of the week is Carlos Grizo, the Griezmeister. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce his last name, but I'm going to call him Griez from now on. I'm sure it's like Gruzo, of course. But Carlos is my last winner of the week, midfielder from FC Dallas. I'm hoping you're starting to see a trend here, like we've said. So I think FC Dallas, for some reason, is underrated. But I don't know why. Like I said, they got 10 points on the season already, which is second most in the MLS. There's a couple teams with 10, but, you know, they're tied for second most points. And Carlos has been one of the key reasons, along with Paxton and Barrios in the midfield, that they're playing so well. And like we've said, it's the consistency that you're going to get out of them in fantasy. So Paxton, Barrios, and Carlos, all FC Dallas midfielders, all three of them find themselves in the top 10 fantasy scoring for midfielders. It's insane. Like, literally, you can't go wrong with plugging and playing these Dallas midfielders on a week-in, week-out basis. Now, Carlos sits with 30 points on the season so far, which is a great... I mean, it's only been 5 weeks. They've played 4 games. So 30 points is a lot of points. His best performance was this last week, where he had 10, and that was due to a goal, because the midfielders were scoring all the goals for Dallas last week. But every game, he's put up 5+. So it's the trend that we're saying with these FC Dallas guys. They don't have a low floor. Their floor is 5. Their floor is 6. And they got that potential to shoot up to double digits, just like Jarvis was saying. The clean sheets, they get a goal, anything like that, they're going to have a great game and help you out tremendously in fantasy. So I think Carlos is another guy you got to keep your eye on and potentially pick up, as he's also just $7.7 million for a starting fantasy player that is yet to play under 90 minutes also. So a lot of good stuff happening with the not New York. A lot of good stuff happening with the FC Dallas boys. Me and Jarvis love the midfield. We love the back line. Go out there and get them. Jarvis, who's your last winner? Hit us with it.
Let's see. I only had 2 winners this week.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. We're on to the losers.
We're on to the losers.
On to the losers.
First loser is Nicholas Ladiro.
Sad.
And it's big sad. It's very sad. You paid 11. Oh, no, you paid, what was it, 12.3 million for him this week?
Yeah, he's 12.
Now he's 11.9. But he got you a big 3 fantasy points. Nothing to worry about yet, I don't think. Just a bad week for them. They've been still popping off the past 4 weeks. So nothing to worry about, really. They just had a rough game, had a lot of chances, but they could never just find the back of the net. Thanks to Dono Henry.
Literally.
But no, they'll be fine. It was just a bad week for all your Sounders, pretty much. So
yeah, if you wanted to, you could totally make a case out there for Sounders being, like, as a whole, losers of the week, because, you know, Jomo had 2, like Jarvis said, Ladero had 3. You didn't get a lot of points from your big boys up front. On their defense, though, like me and Brady were talking about last week, episode 5, I was calling to start Kelvin Leerdam. Their defense played well, but like Jarvis said, the offense looked good. They had lots of chances, but just wasn't falling for them. It was one of those nights.
yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
They
nothing
have,
to worry about at all.
Real Salt Lake next week, and I'm not changing anything. I'm still playing these boys if I got them.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk more about that Friday.
Yeah.
So, I only have one loser of the week, and it's something we did early in the season. My loser is actually one whole team. That's why I only picked one. It is the New York Red Bulls.
Yep.
It's been a weird season for the Red Bulls. Kind of like Atlanta. Definitely better than Atlanta, but both of these teams were the 2 juggernauts in the East last year. Atlanta won the MLS Cup. The Red Bulls won the Supporter Shield. And now this year, the Red Bulls are 8th in the East, and Atlanta's 12th in the East. So it's completely opposite of last year. So it was another dull week from the Red Bulls on the pitch and in fantasy, as they took another loss, and it was 1-0 away to Chicago. So far, through the first 4 games they've played this season, New York has only scored 5 goals, and that's in large part thanks to a 4-goal performance back in Week 3 against San Jose, and we all know San Jose has a terrible defense, so that's really nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
So it's just bad. Like fantasy wise, the Red Bulls' highest scorers, they're Alex Muyol and Mark Reskowski with 20 points. Just 20 points is their highest scorer, and those are two midfielders. A guy that we've talked about on the show, Brady and Jarvis have talked about him. They both said to start him, and it should be on good paper. BWP is one of the MLS leaders in goals, but he's had a terrible start to the season. He's had one goal in 266 minutes, and no one else has stepped up to help him out in scoring. So it's just been a weird, rough year for him. I'm really hoping it turns around because the MLS just isn't the same without a good Red Bull squad, without BWP scoring goals, all that stuff. So I'm hoping they turn it around. But realistically in fantasy, I don't know when it'll happen. So for now, I'm kind of staying away from the Red Bulls depending on a really great matchup or if they show me something. But they are definitely my one and only losers of the week. I just not happy with them, and I've played a couple of them, and they've kind of let me down week in and week out, so that is my loser of the week, the New York Red Bulls. Jarvis, who's your last loser?
My last loser is going to be me talking more about how sick I am about Bradley Wright Phillips. Oh, man. Man. Like
it's been rough.
The one goal against San Jose for him is all he has this year.
Yeah.
He had 8 fantasy points in that performance. And in the last 2 games, he's had 2 fantasy points. Yeah,
and he's expensive.
Yeah, that's he's down to $9.9 million now. But if you've been playing him all year, you have been paying $825,000 per point, which seems like it has to be the highest. Like that seems.
I'm sure it's one of them. Yeah.
I simply cannot think of any like it's so hard right now, man. I think you have to sell like all your Red Bulls right now, and you have to wait and see what happens. I mean, they're already so far down. If they do end up having a couple breakout weeks, you can pick them up for like what they're probably started at. But
yeah, exactly.
They have a decent. I mean, Minnesota is not the easiest matchup out there, but not the worst. And then they have Sporting Kansas City, so not a great matchup. But yeah, you gotta sell your Red Bulls, and especially BWP for what he's going for right now. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, like you said, the next 2 matchups they have aren't great, but they're not bad. I think I'm with Jarvis on this. You get rid of him now. If you've had BWP all year, he's lost you 600,000, so he's almost lost you $1 million of your value. But hopefully, over these next 2 weeks, the Red Bulls wake up, and then you can start buying them. Because the worst case scenario, over the next 2 weeks, they go back up. But like Jarvis said, then it's going to be like they started week 1. So you're not buying at a premium. But boy, it's real tempting to just cut your losses with them.
Yeah, I mean, 600,000 really sucks to lose, but
yeah,
I mean, at
hopefully
this point,
you've made it up elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully you've made it up elsewhere, and I mean that's the nature of the beast to an extent. That's part of the fun of MLS fantasy.
Yep, you gotta hit and you gotta miss. So you live and you learn in fantasy, that's for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, the Red Bulls, man, not good in fantasy, not good in MLS yet.
You get it.
Yep. All right, so that is our winners and losers segment. If you guys agree, if you disagree, let us know over on Twitter at OTBounce. We keep you updated on all types of stuff, especially on game day. We're very active, getting you out the lineups, making sure you guys know who's starting, who's not, or who's in the 18, so you guys can make those last-minute changes. So make sure you're over there. And if you have not, I feel like a lot of people don't know, we do have a website. It is otbounce.com. That is otbounce.com. Over there, we turn a lot of our podcasts into full-length articles. We also have a lot of articles that we don't talk about in the podcast, so we don't have 2-hour-long podcasts. So lots of MLS fantasy news over there, all types of good information and resources. So be sure to check us out over there. Now, our last segment, like we talked about early on in the intro, it's one of the best segments, I think. Lots of people like it. This is the one that we talk about all the time. And this is the Hidden Gems segment. So if you're new around here, this segment is a great one for fantasy. Like we were just talking about value. This segment is all about value. We're talking about players that are either flying under the radar, that just had good games, or that really no one seems to be talking about, and that are at great value points, either that are going to shoot up or just going to be solid money makers throughout the season. So Jarvis, kick it off. who's one of your first hidden gems on the week?
First hidden gem is going to go to Steven Beitashour, I guess is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think so.
500K up on the week, 200K up on the season, but he's still only at 6.2 mil. So,
cheap.
Exactly, extremely cheap. Defender for LAFC, I probably should have said that to start with, but really found a breakout game last week against San Jose. With he had a goal, an assist, a clean sheet, got involved in the passing, cleared balls, all that fun stuff. So I think what I am going to do with Steve Beitashour is definitely keep him on my team, see if I can rotate him in and out of my bench here and there. Definitely just keep an eye on seeing if he's going to be in the starting lineup every week, because he has not started 2 games so far this year. But I don't know. I don't know if you can justify not starting him this coming up week with that kind of performance last week. They do play DC, so keep an eye on that. But yeah, Steve Beitashour needs to be on your team. He's going to make you money over the season without a doubt. So
yeah, I like that pick a lot. You can't go wrong with too many LAFC guys. They're playing great right now, so I like that pick a lot. Beitashour was in the dream team of the week, like Jarvis said. He had a 16-point game last week, so he really balled out. I like it. All right, my first hidden gem of the week. Anybody want to guess what team he's on? He is on FC Dallas. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. They've been balling in fantasy, and I want to make sure you guys don't miss it. So my first hidden gem is a forward from FC Dallas, Jesus Ferreira. Now, he pretty much just had his coming out party, just like Steve Beitashour for Jarvis. He exploded for 13 points over the last weekend, thanks to a goal and 2 assists. So he was involved in all of the attacking for FC Dallas. Now, this is only the second time that we've seen him get significant playing time this season, so I think that's a reason that not a lot of people know about him, and he's so cheap because of that. I'll get into his price a little bit later, but after this last performance of him scoring 13 points, I would not be shocked to see him getting more and more involved in the starting 11 going forward. Now, that's kind of the only knock you can have on FC Dallas this season. They don't have like a one guy that's just going to be their solid goal scorer. They've had a lot of goals from midfield, a lot of goals from the defenders. So who knows? Jesus Ferreira could be one of those guys that start getting more and more involved, either at striker, on the wings, but definitely up top. And he could be great in fantasy, as he just showed one of his first games playing a lot of minutes. He gets 2 assists and a big goal. So the crazy part is, he's a forward who's only listed at $4.6 million right now. He's under $5 million at forward on one of the best teams in the league. So the potential is there to score a bunch in fantasy. The potential is definitely there to make you money value-wise. So I would keep an eye on him. And I don't think buy him right now, because who knows what their lineup sheet is going to look like. But as we start getting closer to game day, and especially on game day, if he's in that starting 11 or even on the 18, I'm picking him up and throwing him on my bench, because if he gets in and has another decent performance, he's going to go up 500K. So really, you're just going to make money on him. He's 4.6 mil. I think this is one of those guys you get in on the ground floor and just let him kind of keep rising in money, and you sell him off when you need him. So that is my first hidden gem, Jesus Ferreira, forward, FC Dallas. It's too cheap to pass on.
It really is, yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, it's stupid. All right, who's your next hidden gem of the week?
Another guy on the team of the week for fantasy. The Brazilian Oro. Single name. I love it.
Yeah, he's heat.
Yes. Defender for Toronto. Had a big 13 fantasy points. Had an assist, a clean sheet, some passes. You know how it goes for the defenders. Really his breakout game, to an extent. He had an assist his first appearance, but that was about it. Didn't have a super notable game against New England, and then really balled out this week against NYCFC. 6.3 million, so he's not going for very much at all right now, and he already is up 800K.
Okay.
So, and as long as he's playing, and he's been playing the full 90s, someone you can definitely start. Someone I'm probably going to start this week against Chicago. See how that goes. And even when they do play the Seattles and the LAFCs, someone you could probably put on the bench. or sell. I mean, depending on how much he goes up and how comfortable you feel with that. But
Yeah.
he's definitely someone that I think you're going to be able to flex in and out, start against teams that they have good matchups against. And Toronto's looked good this year, so
For sure.
should be a lot of matchups. But he's someone I think you're just going to be making bank off of. So if you need some quick cash, get Oro.
Okay, I like it. If you need cash now, call 1-800-AURO. Yeah. You get it. All right, I like that pick. The one name soccer players, man, you can never go wrong with them.
They're literally always the best.
Yeah, you know it. So my last hidden gem of the week is another defender, and he was also in the Dream Team of the Week last week. He is from the New England Revolution, so don't be scared yet. But his name is Jalil Anibaba. Now, I think he's the key to the New England Revolution. He's played only 2 games. Both games he played a full 90. The first week he scored 5 points. Last week he scored 11. And in both games that he's started and played the full 90 for New England, they got a draw and a win. And they're only points on the season. So I think he's the kid and he for the Revs. We all know their defense hasn't been good, but yet when he's in there, they get points. So I'm really thinking he's going to be a guy that starts featuring in the starting 11 week in and week out. And the reason I'm loving him is because of that, mixed with he's only $5.3 million. So he's a very cheap option. And the crazy thing is, he's up $800,000 on the year. So he was in the $4 million to start the season off, and he was a starter week 1. He had a couple weeks off, then he started again this week, and he really performed with 11 points. He helped them only allow 1 goal in, and he helped them win with his goal he scored. So I think he's a guy you got to look for. He's another guy just like my last pick, Jesus Ferreira. They should start seeing the starting 11, and they're just so cheap that if you need to start making money, you need to start investing. These are 2 great guys to do it with. $5.3 million for a defender who's going to start starting every week. I'm still not a big believer in the Revs at all, but I think this is just a very safe and smart value play. So if you're needing to make some quick money or some good money over time, look no further than Jalil Anibaba. He's got the Alibaba sword on him too, so watch out. Just watch out, all right? Watch out for it. So I think that wraps up the hidden gems. You got any other ones, or did you just have 2 also?
Just 2.
Okay, so that wraps up the hidden gem segment, which wraps up the week episode. Anything else you want to talk about, or anything else we forgot to mention before we close this out?
We would probably be remiss if we didn't mention our FCC boys getting.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd just gloss over it.
Yeah, but
Yeah, as you guys know, we're FC Cincinnati fans. We've been riding a high over the last couple weeks. We've been playing well, and then Philly Union came to town in just a terrible weather. If you watched the Crew game or saw highlights, it was the same weather. Besides, our pitch held up a little bit better, but boy.
Yeah, Philly came to town and said, "Here's this dupe."
They dropped the dupe on us.
It really did.
We've been duped. It's simple. Philly literally duped us so hard. Sadly, they beat us 2-0. It was just a rough game all in all. The weather was terrible. Shout out to all the fans that showed up, though. It still was a nice atmosphere in the thunderstorms. So, yeah, there's not much to talk about, really. And, of course, like Jarvis said in the very beginning, not looking forward to bringing Sporting into town after scoring 7.
Not at all.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. But we'll talk more about the upcoming games on Friday's episode. If you guys are new around here and you're listening, shout out to you. Hopefully you're listening over on Podbean, Spotify, or iTunes, because I don't know how you'd be listening. And if you are listening on one of those, be sure to follow us or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps us out greatly. We are rapidly approaching 300 plays, 300 views, which is nuts. We've only been doing this 8 episodes. So shout out to all of you guys out there. We're out in Saudi Arabia still. Shout out to my boy. Speaking of Dupe, the Philly Union fan in Saudi Arabia somehow. I don't know how that's a thing.
Saudi Arabia.
But man, that's some real fan support. But I think that is it. Just follow us on Twitter. Follow us on the podcast at OTBounce, otbounce.com. all that good stuff. And we will see you guys back here Friday when we start breaking down Week 6 MLS action. So for me, JK, for Josh Jarvis,
Eat.
the hog, the pork chop, we're signing off. I'm starving. I'll see you guys Friday. Deuces.
Goodbye, boys.